Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I don't think we've ever done this before. And that is do a full hour show, full hour podcast on one topic. And this is a great topic. This is one that has changed lives. And she is all a part of that. We're talking about getting married in Hawaii. She is our go-to for that, our professional of the year. I'm talking about Simple Kona Beach Weddings, and Becky Ringler is the woman that facilitates that. Welcome. How are you doing today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you, Steve. I don't know. It's a good day today. A good day to be alive. Good day to be in Hawaii. So I'm happy to be here with you. Yeah.
I want to get deep for a moment before we even dig into a number of different things. One of those may be trends. We're going to talk about Hawaii and recent reports of traveling there and all of that. You personally, you've been there, if I'm going to remember correctly, 12-ish years, somewhere around there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you came from originally upstate New York.
Yeah.
Do you have a renewed sense of gratitude for being in Hawaii?
Oh, yes, is what I have to say. I mean, it's like, I think also certain places, I've lived a lot of different places. I grew up in the same place, and then I have moved and lived many different places throughout my lifetime, all over the world. And I would say that, you come to a place and it resonates with you, right? And I mean, I think Hawaii is a place that resonates with a lot of people. Like it's very beautiful here. I am definitely a warm weather person. So for me, this really suits me, my constitution.
Yep.
Now I don't mind visiting cold places, but I think in general, it's so beautiful here. The pace of life, especially on this island, the island of Hawaii, the actual island of Hawaii, which is that nickname is the Big Island. The pace of life is a little slower, which is really nice as well. And I just feel like we're a bit apart from people come here to relax, to kind of get away from everything. And it's hard not to be grateful every day to wake up living here. I mean, I feel very grateful that we do every day. So yes, renewed sense of gratitude. I mean, I feel like I try to look at every day with a feeling of gratitude, but it's very easy here for sure. Yeah.
What was the biggest adjustment for you and your husband?
Moving to Hawaii, I would say, gosh, it's hard. It's actually kind of hard to think about that because what happened when we first moved here, Steve, is I had a bit of a back injury prior to moving here. And about like a month after we moved here, my back just totally went out and I was bedbound for like 3 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it was really hard. I feel like that was the hardest thing, and then ironically, after that, I had like a ton of health challenges the first year that we lived here. And then I did some great alternative treatments. The nickname here is the Healing Island. We do have a lot of alternative treatments. I also used to do alternative pain management and healing in the hospital. So for me, it was natural to do a lot of that. And my back got better. And then they found out I had colon cancer, which was like a whole bunch of stuff, right? And then luckily they caught it early. It was removed, and that was that. It was very, like I like to always say, the easiest kind of cancer one could have. I think we touched upon that one other time, but I feel like because of that, the other stuff was not that hard.
I guess that kind of puts it into perspective right there. Major medical challenges, but I am going to say, if you got to be anywhere to recover, maybe, you know what? Maybe it worked out that way because it was supposed to.
I feel like I came here to kind of to heal. Like a lot of things were discovered. It's funny. We had this, my husband and I had this body worker, kind of like a masseuse on steroids in San Francisco. And he said, "Oh, you're the element. I'm the Chinese element of wood." and he said, "You're going to the ring of fire. You're totally going to burn." And I feel like it burned all the bad stuff out of my body. And here I am. And a lot of people come here and they move here and the island kind of eats them up and spits them out. But for me, I felt like I was here in a place to heal and then to really give birth. I mean, all of my business, everything came out of that experience because I thought, well, I'm only doing things that bring me joy and that bring others joy, that love has got to be the center of everything that I do. Like, it gave me a lot of clarity. And I feel like people are freer here to kind of, everyone has interesting things that they're doing. I would say, yes, there are people that have regular jobs, but I feel like a lot of people have out of the box things here as well. And it's very easy to let that part of yourself shine. So, yeah.
I want to share with everybody instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. A question, comment for Becky. There have been some news reports recently about tourism trending a little down for Hawaii. Have you heard that?
I mean, to me, it's not surprising at all. Like right after COVID, like 1 billion people came here. It felt like because it was still in the U.S., like easier to come here, right? It was like a way to get away, but yet you didn't have to travel internationally. And people had all this money to blow, right? You know, they're like saving up. They haven't been anywhere. They're like, let's do the big trip. So everybody came. It was super, super busy. And then, of course, it's not surprising to me that it's kind of come down a little bit. Like now people are traveling all over the world again. They're going other places. Certainly the other thing I would say is that, of course, like everywhere, since COVID, prices have really gone up a lot for across the board here. Just even as a person living here, I mean, everything is a lot more expensive. But honestly, I was surprised that it wasn't more so before. Because we are literally like the furthest away from any other landmass, inhabited landmass anywhere else in the world. So it is a feat to get things here that are not here. So, but I feel like it's actually great because the people that are coming are the people that are typically my clients anyway. So people that they don't care. They really want to come to Hawaii, right? It doesn't matter. This has been their dream. They're coming. And also, you know, we offer a quality, beautiful experience. And I think it's sorting out the people that came and thought, oh, I can get married in Hawaii for cheap, which I never understood anyway, because I don't know, like you could get married. You can. I think there are places you still can get married really cheap in Hawaii, but the whole rest of the experience is not cheap. And I feel like that's not what I do. So I may do simple, but it's the experience is so full and filled with quality and care. That's the kind of traveler we have, people that care about experiences, people that really care about something quality. And I actually think it's a bonus because not everything is so crowded and busy. People come here to relax and you can relax here. The traffic is not ridiculous. You know, there's it just feels like you can breathe and have space to just be, which I think is actually better, honestly. So.
You know, in terms of price points, should be a once in a lifetime event, and you're making the investment to go to Hawaii anyway. Why not do it right with somebody that's done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds? Nothing rocks you. I've learned that in speaking with you over these podcasts, where there could be challenges here, challenges there. You got it. You got it. You really do. And it's evident can we take a look at pictures? I would love to.
Sure.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So, okay. So let's start. The reason I'm starting on my Instagram is because I do have some galleries pulled up, but I think it'll give you a nice broad sense. And what I do want to say, by the way, is we have people, like I have couples that I have planned with for like a year. I don't book more than a year in advance because nothing here you can book more than a year in advance pretty much. So we just don't do it. And then, of course, there are people that book me like 2 days, like they're spur of the moment coming to Hawaii. They want to get married. And I do have special last minute things for people that are very spontaneous. So my Instagram has kind of a combo between those. And I was, for those of you listening, I was just sharing with Steve before that I just had, this is the end of June, we just had a huge crunch of weddings, and I have like none of the galleries yet. So, but I'll share with you. Some of these will start on the Instagram, and I have some galleries pulled up that we can look at as well. But I'm just going to scroll down just a little bit, and we can look closer, Steve, if you want to as well. You can ask me if you want me to stop. But basically, the feeling here. Sunset is typically the best time, right? You're going to get the best lighting. We're on the sunset side of the island here in Kona.
Wow.
We have, the flowers are beautiful. We've, talked about that before. Like we have cool lava features. Sometimes people are like, well, I don't want a lava beach. I'm like, well, we have sand. We have lots of sand here too. Sometimes people choose, as you can see, like here, people want to get married on the lava because it's very big island, right? It's very unique. It's a very, like we have some lava shelves that you can stand on, but also at the same time.
Can I just interject here while we're at that point and looking at that picture of that couple getting married, standing on lava? It didn't really resonate with me when you mentioned it until I saw the picture.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that is breathtaking. I would dare say just as good as sand. Like whatever you're feeling, you can get that off of the lava. It's just a very different vibe to it, but beautiful. Wow.
Yeah, it's super cool. And again, we have some really interesting, and also, like a lot of our beaches, like this one here, there's lava behind, there's sand here.
Sure.
But the nice thing is that on a lot of our beaches, we have both sand and lava so that then you can, have pictures on both if you want. Like in here, this was a morning one, so you can kind of see what it's like in the morning. We had to find some shade because it's very bright. This was a vow renewal, ironically, for a couple's. I married a couple several years ago. This was their parents for their 50th wedding anniversary. The mom really wanted to have a vow renewal with me because she loved my ceremony so much before. So it was really special to just have, this was back here is the couple that I married several years ago now. And so it was just a really lovely morning.
Do you recall where they were from? Where did they travel from?
I think they're from West Coast somewhere.
Okay.
But I do have a lot of East Coast couples. I have people from all over the world that come here. We've got some, like these guys are from Colorado, these ones here. They were just, these were California. These guys were from Florida.
Nice.
Yeah, and we have, we ironically, we get a lot of people from Florida who come to Hawaii, which I think is really interesting because you think tropical to tropical, but it's a really different experience here. And then this couple here, I guess this is just one. This is like a lava cliff, by the way, that you can stand on at one of the beaches. And they were from, she's American, but they were living in Australia. So everybody came over from Australia. This couple here, so they live here part of the time. This was their wedding, their Hawaii wedding before they went to Scotland to have a castle wedding. So we do that too. Little weddings before or after, quote, the real wedding. And it can be really fun. Like, hang on here. And as you can see, by the way, we can also do it like this one was at a private house. So they had lots of cool foliage, and we did this at their home that they were renting. But oftentimes it's, and then here, like on this beach, there's like a little cliff that overlooks the ocean, which is really cool. So you get lots of cool little details and things. So, yeah.
Is there flowers that people are throwing in the air?
Yes. So here, let me find a good flower throwing picture. So I specialize in making a flower heart. But oftentimes afterwards, people love throwing the flowers up over. And ironically, she wanted bougainvillea. I normally don't use bougainvillea. Usually it's plumerias and orchids, but she really wanted this color. So we did that. But we did use plumerias for the toss because, this is funny. Okay. Anyway, this all happened on our 9th anniversary 2 years ago. But anyway, Yeah, so you can throw flowers up. The one thing that I always tell people is if we throw them up, we have to pick them up. So we leave nothing behind on the beach. That's a very
Wow.
important thing.
And
Yeah.
I fully respect that. My son is an Eagle Scout in the Scouts, and that's one of, leave nothing behind.
Yeah.
Some may think that, well, it's flowers, it's natural. Why can't it just stay there? How do you address that?
Well, because if everybody did that, because we do have a lot of weddings here, then they
Okay.
rot on the beach, and the beach,
Gotcha.
it becomes gross. So we just have a thing that you leave it as you find it, so that way you can really create something. It's always pristine for everybody else.
Sure.
Yeah.
One thing I'm seeing here, and we talked about it before, what people wear. And this has been everything from traditional wedding dresses to suits. Didn't see any tuxedos, but definitely suits. But then to the other side, the casual. There's shorts. There's a short sleeve shirt. There's, of course, a Hawaiian shirt. I saw that along the way. It's really anything goes, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, it's really fun too. And of course, here's an example. They had a dress for their daughter. She did not want to put it on. I'm like, whatever. We're on the beach in Hawaii, so they just left it off, and it was fine. And I always say, and by the way, for those of you that can't see, it's like a 1-year-old. This is not a. It's a very tiny daughter.
I was getting to that, but thank you for sure.
But yeah, and this is fun. So right here, this bride, she was one of my Ironman brides. So we have the World Ironman Championship here every October, and I do a lot of Ironman couples. I do their weddings, which is really fun. So she was one of the athletes before or after the race at some point, and she was from Brazil. We've got a lot of just really, I love that. I have so many people that I'm still in contact with that I have done weddings for that came in for Ironman, which is really fun also. So, yeah, so we're just sort of scrolling down. Anything else that you want to look into more or see more?
Music. I saw a shop
Musician?
with a guitar. What can you tell us about that?
Well, usually it's a ukulele, but occasionally we have, sometimes it's a Hawaiian guitar. So it depends, but yes. So music is an absolute must for some people, and other people are like, I don't really need it. The one thing I will say is that because we're outside and there is the sand, obviously the sand, but there's the wind and the waves and the birds. If you don't have music, it's not going to be totally silent. It'll feel ambient, right?
Gotcha.
You won't feel like you're in a room that's too quiet. However, to have a Hawaiian musician playing songs is also super beautiful and cool. So it just depends on if that's really important to you. I work with some amazing musicians. They used to be our next door neighbors, and they formed a company. Now they have like a whole entertainment company. So they still do our weddings. I feel very lucky to have them because all of them are super talented.
Look at that one picture there with the rainbow.
Yeah.
My gosh.
A lot of really cool rainbows. I'll try and show you the other one. We get a lot of, that's the other thing. People worry so much about, what if it's rainy? Because again, it's not usually rainy on the beach. Right here, this is one of the most spectacular ones. It was like the sky was so dark. And then we got the most spectacular, it like sprinkled for like a second, and then it stopped. They weren't rained upon. But luckily it was I say luckily because it was like super stormy behind them. And then the sun was like popping out, and we get the most spectacular rainbows. And it was truly this dramatic. You think, it's dark, but on the other side, it was very beautiful.
I can't even, I'm trying to find the words to describe it. And yes, it's dark sky, the rainbow within the sky, and kudos to your photographer. They obviously used flash to illuminate the couple and make them pop there. Whoa, like amazing.
Yeah, this is like it's one of my favorite photos because it's just so spectacular.
Once in a lifetime, once in a million shot there. And I'm sure it was like, go now.
It's like a perfect, I feel like a lot of times they're busy taking pictures and I'll be like, oh my God, look at the rainbow. Like it'll be after the ceremony. Obviously, I'm not going to stop during the ceremony. Although sometimes people stop us during the ceremony because there's something amazing happening behind us. We've had, one time we had a manta ray, like sort of, and we've had whales, of course, and rainbows and like by the way, whales are winter. That's when the whales happen. We've had dolphins and super cool wildlife, and then, just like amazing things happen. And occasionally all the guests are just staring, and we all turn around and we're like, wow, it's okay to take a moment also during your wedding to appreciate these things. So occasionally it's all right to take a moment and just appreciate all of the cool stuff around you, because that's one of the benefits for getting married here is that there's so many beautiful things.
I want to go a little deeper into the ceremony itself. And I've seen a couple of pictures where it looks like the rings are in something, almost like a half coconut shell kind of thing.
Yeah, no, they're in a bowl of ocean water. And let me see if I can find a good picture. So here I am. But this bowl, I have a heart-shaped bowl. And I've, of course, got it here in Hawaii. It's a wooden bowl. The rings go in a bowl of ocean water. And I explain that during the ceremony, what it means. And their rings get blessed with a Hawaiian ring blessing, which I do during the ceremony. And then I explain what that means as well. And it's cool because if there's ever, it kind of takes away the need for someone to like hold the rings and fumble around and know what to do with them. But if you have somebody who, by the way, I'm not being cagey about what it means. I just don't like to spoil it for people. Like if they want to know, I always tell my couples, like, if you want to know the meaning, I'll tell you beforehand. But if you want to be surprised, and usually they're like, I just want to be surprised, because I'll explain it to everybody as it's happening.
Well, let me make sure I have that clear. You mean with the bowl and what goes on? We're not giving it up now, but you're saying there's something special that's connected to it, and you'll find out when you need to find out.
Yeah. And by the way, I always tell my couples, like most of the time, I don't tell them the whole ceremony ahead of time. If they want to know the order, I will tell them. And I always say, if you need me to explain anything ahead of time, some people get really anxious and they just need to know. Of course, I will tell you. I would say 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, people would rather be surprised and be in the moment. But if you are an anxious type person and you just need to know, I will tell you everything ahead of time if you want to. Yeah, I want you to feel comfortable, but most people prefer the surprise, or like, so that it doesn't feel like, oh, I knew that was going to happen. But there are the occasional people who get anxious and they need to know what's going to happen so that they can relax. And then I certainly will share it. But what I was going to say is, if you have someone who is supposed to be in charge of the rings, it's a great job ahead of time. We make a thing and they come up and they place the rings in the bowl of ocean water before the ceremony starts, so that way it's great for especially little boys who cannot be trusted not to fling it around, somewhere. So they can come up right beforehand and they place it in it doesn't matter if it's little boys or not, but generally speaking, like people think, oh, a ring bearer, my nephew's going to do that, but he's 6 or 5 and, 2. On the beach, you don't want your ring flung around because you may never find it again. So, it makes it safe as well.
I have to tell you, Becky, the wood with the rings in it seemed like a nice idea, right? Kind of maybe, we don't need the story, but symbolic. But when you said there's ocean water in there.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but that just, for me, magical. It's almost the bow on top of the present, if you will.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know what it is. Like we are water. We came from water. And the symbolism there, however you want to read into it, beautiful.
And there is symbolism for what the ocean water does. And there is a reason why they're in a bowl of ocean water. The whole point of a ceremony here is to connect you to the land. The reason I feel like the reason you get married here in Hawaii is because you want to bring some of those special Hawaiian elements in with you. We have talked about this before, but the Hawaiian elements that I do they're not cheesy. They're not meant to be kitschy, or I don't feel like to me, I'm trying to do my best to honor what is here
Sure.
what I've been taught. And it really, a lot of my couples really love nature. That's part of the reason they come here is they want to be out in the elements. They want to be by the ocean. And it just helps connect them to what this is. So it is really special. So
There's no gimmicks here. Back in the day, well, we have the chocolate fondue if you would like that. Everybody wants that now. There's no gimmicks. This is celebration, tradition, and love. I got an email. This one from Jody in Austin, Texas. She says, is it possible to do a floral arch at a beach ceremony?
that's a great question. Depends on the location. So technically, arches are not allowed on public beaches, but you are allowed to do them if you are renting a space, like at a hotel, or if you're renting a property that's on the ocean. But technically, all land on the ocean is public land, and technically, the answer is technically no. But at a rental place where you're ocean adjacent, right, but you're on private property, then the answer is yes. And there are people that do that, but it is, I always feel like I'm never going to do something where we could get stopped by an official. I mean, the chances of that happening usually are pretty slim at the places that I work at, but it's just a matter, most of the reason for that is that it's a public beach and you can't take up land, so to speak, or your space in a public location. It could. So if you have a private location that is like right next to the ocean, then yes, you may. Or like, say you're renting a house, it fronts the ocean. Literally nobody else could be there. Yes, we can do that, right? So
Gotcha.
It kind of there's some things. But if you'll notice, like here's a picture. See how there's some natural trees sometimes, and then we could wrap flowers around these. Like there are things you can do.
Yeah.
We have a lot of natural features that can create the feeling of an arch. So that's something else. That's a separate thing that can be done. But that was a really good question. And that was my long answer.
No, it's totally understandable. And looking at that natural tree arch, if you will, wrapping it with flowers, if somebody wanted that location, you're achieving the same thing. But I think better because, the flower arch, if somebody were to bring it and set it up, it's manufactured. It's fabricated. This is the natural beauty. We just wrap some flowers around it. And
as you can see here, it's so beautiful because of the way the leaves are. You almost don't need the flowers. You could, of course. But I mean, I feel like a lot of times, like this location here, there's this tree. There used to be another branch over here that created an arch, but it was cut down during COVID. It was damaged. We had a lot of damage to some of these trees over here. But this in and of itself creates a really cool, setting. So there's a lot of really interesting trees here that bend over or that create a feeling of, which though, that's why we started doing, the flower heart on the ground. It can be a circle, by the way, if you don't like hearts, because it creates also a space and something to stand in to create a space if we can't do, since oftentimes we can't do a flower arch or, things like that. So
it almost looks like the tree of life to me. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw that tree.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful one. It's like one of my favorite. This is like my favorite spot.
There's something magical about that tree, and I haven't figured out what it is yet. But there's a nice energetic vibe coming from it. What about any kind of symbolic, ceremonial things that can be done for somebody that has passed on and can't be at the wedding? And I don't know what that would be. A remembrance, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to find, there's a great picture. So there are several things that can be done. One, by the way, when we have you, and I'm going to keep scrolling as I do this to see if I can find that picture. There are several things that can be done. Sometimes people take like a little cameo photo and they pin it to their bouquet. So their bouquet. So that's a very common thing. So that's a way to bring your loved one in. Sometimes people set frames of their family members up next to the ceremony with photos, so like they're watching. When I have everyone hold the lava rock wrapped in a tea leaf, well, everyone, the bride and the groom, and occasionally children, by the way. So if you have young children, you're blending families, the children often participate in that part. They hold the rock with everybody. But the rock, it serves to hold and hear their vows for any loved ones who could not be here today, be there to witness the moment. So I can specifically name people if they want me to. Most of the time we don't, because they don't want to cry, right? So it just brings in the feeling of that person. Occasionally, like if we're doing it at a venue where there are chairs, again, outside we typically don't have any chairs, but if there is an instance where we have chairs, people will put a picture or special flowers on a chair to remember that person. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. And I'm trying to see if I can find that picture. There was this great picture of a bouquet with a thing pinned to it, but I don't know if I'll find it or not.
This may be a crazy question, but when you talk about putting a frame, or let's say somebody has a personal, something different that they want to do within the realm of a Kona Beach wedding, is there anything, there's no tables there, but let's say somebody wants something stood up or on a stand, if you will. Is there anything like that that can be brought in?
I guess so, although I can't think what, because usually, so for the ceremony, we're there in the ceremony, and then they go somewhere else for the after part. And so I would probably, we would talk about that, and I would probably recommend that they take it and have it for their dinner, whatever that might be. Otherwise, I try to use as many natural elements as possible. So we try to find a place on the beach. Is there a stump? Is there a place in a tree that we could put that? Is there a natural stand? What specifically might you be talking about, Steve?
Just let's say somebody had pictures of loved ones, and they brought them, but they wanted them, not down on the ground, but elevated up a little bit, and they wanted to put them on something that maybe, off to the side while the ceremony takes place. That kind of thing. I'm just going hypothetical. Because I know there's different guidelines of things, like we said, no flower arch. You can't do that on a public beach.
You could certainly bring, a stand or something to make that happen.
Okay.
I often, though, suggest in that particular case that if you have guests, that a guest hold them. So sometimes a guest will hold the photo up like you can't really see me, but like they'll hold it at their chest so that they're preparing for the loved one. Only because the thought of bringing all this extraneous stuff onto the beach, I'm not a big fan of bringing extra furniture onto the beach. It almost ruins the naturalness of the type of weddings that we do.
Yeah, I can see it. It could complicate things where you just want. Listen, you're getting your rings in a wood bowl in ocean water. How natural does it get? And now you bring a table. So I get it.
Yeah, and I will always talk. So if someone has something like that, we'll talk about it at length, and we'll figure out a way that feels good.
There'll be a way.
important. I will never just say, no, we're not going to do that. We'll talk about what it means, how we think we can do it. We'll talk about the logistics, and then make a decision together, because I think that that's really important. Now, obviously, like in this particular case, right, these guys were they were at a venue, right? They were at a property that had this beautiful background, and you could put all sorts of things. They had tables, of course. And by the way, I will do weddings at venues if you really want me to. I like at a private house or whatnot, but most of the time it's just people prefer the beach. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
What about hydration? It's hot. We might have some older folks. Do people bring water, off to the side, a cooler or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times people will bring water bottles or they'll bring a cooler, like you say. They will, or a backpack of stuff. So usually people just manage that on their own. They just bring stuff for people, or everyone brings their own water bottle. I do recommend it. It's not ridiculously hot here, but it can be warm for people. And again, if you're going to be standing for a while and all that kind of stuff, you may, I think it's a good idea. And we usually try to bring a couple extra bottles. At our wedding just the other couple days ago, we had a couple of older people, and then also a young, one of the nephews was like, I'm so thirsty. I don't think I can manage. Like they were just having although there was a water fountain at the beach, we gave both of our extra water bottles to make sure that they were hydrated, because you don't want anyone passing out. But always bring water. It's a good idea.
I'm trying to, cover all bases, just thinking, broadly here. Has anybody ever done a champagne toast after a ceremony at the beach?
Yeah, you can do that. We're not allowed to bring you the champagne because technically alcohol is not allowed on our beaches. However, we certainly can bring you plastic champagne goblets, to use. Most of the time people will bring that themselves, but we're happy to do it. Most of the time you're not going to get in trouble if it's just a toast, like a toast. No one gives you grief for that. Right. They just want people carousing on the beach, getting wasted, causing problems mainly, and breaking glass. Like that there's a reason for that. But absolutely, a champagne toast is great. But cool. So I'll give guidance around that, and I can bring things. By the way, Steve, sometimes people ask, can we have a little cake on the beach? So the answer to that is yes, you can. And we have done that for people. We have set up a little cake. But I like to encourage people to do that after their dinner, because a cake on the beach, let's think about cake on the beach in general, even with a blanket, even with a little thing. You're trying to eat cake and it messes up your makeup. You're getting sticky. There can get sand in the cake. Like there's a lot of things, like logistical things about trying to eat cake on the beach that is just not that fun if you really think about it. So yes, we will do it, and we'll talk about all the things. And they're like, if it's really important just to cut it and do it, we can make it happen. But most of the time, it is way better to do it at your dinner.
And enjoy it. Yeah. As opposed to...
it's just like a weird photo moment that then you're wasting the cake, and it's not as fun as it could be. So.
I don't judge anybody, and it's your wedding. You do whatever you want. I don't see ever a reason for it. There may be a sentimental reason that we don't know, and that's completely different. But yeah, certainly on the beach, like you said, it's messy. Champagne toast, a little bit different. Have you ever performed a wedding in the water?
No, although I would. My husband and I are huge water people. We swim all the time. We dive, and I love the water, so I will totally do one in the water. Most of the time, a bride would prefer to get her dress wet after the wedding. I don't know what it is, just one of those things. I can make for a little bit more difficult to photograph. I mean, certainly if someone said, could we get married on floaties in the water, as long as it was there's a lot of X factors. I would totally do that, by the way. But the X factor is what if it's a big swell? Or there's a lot of things that can cause some difficulty, but not that I wouldn't do it. And we would just talk about the various things.
Sure.
But most of the time, standing a little bit in the water, we could totally do that if that was a request. And especially if I knew that was happening, we would prepare properly for that. It can be... I'm open to that kind of stuff.
I'm just kind of curious. You've mentioned before, Becky, that you have different beaches that you pick from, depending on what the needs are, I guess maybe weather, time of day, and that. How many different ones on average are there?
Okay, there's many beaches, but I have 4 favorites that I use. Mm-hmm. And that sort of come down to 3 favorites, actually, because one of them I stopped using because It's good for photos, but there can be, depending on the day, especially after COVID, there's a homeless issue that can be in that particular beach, and I don't want to risk it for a wedding ever. The other 3 beaches are reliably gorgeous. They offer a variety of photo opportunities. They're easy to get to. The parking, everything is. They're also not so crowded. That's what makes them great wedding beaches. And I always tell people hey, if for some reason you want to get married somewhere else, or you have a beach in mind, we'll talk about that beach, or I can find you a different location. But there's reasons why, I don't do weddings on one of my favorite swimming beaches. It's just really crowded. There's no privacy. There's a lot of beaches that are beautiful, but the privacy level is nil. I don't also post those. There are people that post every location. I'm stop giving them away. You want to keep these particular beaches precious. Like that's how I feel. Like you want to keep them uncrowded. So obviously, I'm going to tell my couples where they are, but I'm not going to just like share all my locations. I don't believe in that. I think there's a duty that we have to protect. Also, beautiful spaces here. So.
What about other people? I mean, these are public beaches. So now you're doing a ceremony. I personally don't want a stranger in my wedding photos.
Yes.
How do we get around that?
Again, most of the time, the good thing is that most of the time these beaches are not particularly crowded. So there's space to be private, like a little nook and cranny kind of thing. And then the photographer, there's people way in the background, they can airbrush them out. It is not typically a problem where people are like in the way. On a very rare occasion, we're on a beach and somebody like they walk behind the wedding and then they stop to like talk to other people, like, hey, come on, like totally oblivious. I think it's happened like twice. And again, I've done like way over 700 weddings now. So it's very rare that most people are pretty respectful. And again, these are not super crowded areas. So it's just not too much of a concern, which is why I recommend the locations that I do. And people, again, are pretty respectful about it. They give you space. They try not to be in the way. You get the occasional people like taking photos of the wedding from, far away, but it's very rare that anyone is really intrusive, is what I would say.
How about some tips? I saw on your IG feed, just some, wedding tips, beach tips, anything, a couple of things you want to throw out there?
I would say, last week we were talking about some like outfit kind of things. Like always think about how comfortable you're going to be because you're in the elements. So always wear again, you can ditch the heels, save them for dinner. Wear flip-flops. You can be barefoot. Always wear shoes though to the beach because as you can see, we've got lava and sand and all sorts of stuff. Don't worry so much about the weather. Again, you'll look at the weather app and it's like, scares you. Oh my God, 35% chance of rain. Like, yeah, but when during the day is that 35%? And that's still a 65% chance of sun. Like, just don't, I try to tell people to just not worry about that. We talked definitely about that last week when we were talking about the weather, but sure. I would say the other thing is to just go with the flow. Trust that I'm going to take care of you. It's going to be beautiful. On this last Thursday, I had a wedding and the dad afterwards, he said, I have attended so many weddings in my lifetime. This was the most beautiful wedding I've ever been to. He's like, you cared so much about it. And it was so beautiful and it was so interesting. And I always think to myself, like because I do hear that actually more than one would think. And I'm like, shouldn't it always be like, shouldn't I always care? Like, because I do care. I care about all of my couples. I care about the experience. But apparently, from my understanding, a lot of people are just reading from a book and it's really boring. And I don't understand why you would possibly do that. So to me, every wedding is really special. So trust I'm going to be there for you and take care of you. And and I would say just to try and relax if you can. I know that's hard on a wedding day, but just trust that everything is going to be perfect, however it turns out. And if you can try and allow that, rather than to micromanage every little thing, like that's my job. My job is to make sure like all the things go well. Your job is to just show up and like have a great time. That's the biggest tip I think I would say to people.
Release.
Yeah.
She's got the wheel. I have to tell you, Becky, looking at those pictures gave me deeper understanding and clarity. I mean, you're crystal clear on everything, but just I feel like I'm on the beach and it's almost inspiration. Just like you want to go there and do that. Just looking at the pictures. And most importantly, it's so chill. It's, I'm not big on formalities. That's just how I ride. I don't like that pomp and circumstance and, gotta walk in now. Blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. It's just not me. And just looking at the freedom of being at the beach. Yeah, some people are dressed up too. That's cool. If that's your choice, whatever. There's just a certain natural beauty and freedom. And now I see it even looking at the photos.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. And it's funny because some people do want a processional, right? They have like a little mini, but it's still way more relaxed, right?
Yes.
Because it's like, okay. And it's just, that's the best thing about getting married on the beach. And only because you only have your closest loved ones, the people that love you the most there. Or maybe it's just the two of you. It's not a performance, it's a gathering to celebrate your love. And it's about the couple, and sometimes it's about the couple and their kids. Like they want it to be about them, but it's also a blending of their family. That's also beautiful. Whatever is the most important thing for the couple will help, really make that happen. But the best thing is that it's not about perfection. It's about creating a beautiful moment that you treasure for forever, something that you're never going to forget. And if you have guests, hopefully they'll never forget either. Like it'll be like, remember that wedding in Hawaii? Like that kind of feeling. Yeah.
Is it typical tropical weather where if a storm rolls in, it's done in a very short period of time, and then the sun comes out, or just the rain stops? Short showers, if you get
it. So first of all, like I've said before, it almost never rains at sunset on the beach, but occasionally if it does, it is like comes and it goes. Like it doesn't last for very long. Maybe 15 minutes. You just wait a few minutes, it'll go away. Only once did I think, well, it didn't downpour the whole wedding. It was in December. December is not a great weather time here, just like a lot of places in the Northern Hemisphere. It's still winter here too. And we get a little more rain in December. That doesn't mean we can't have perfect days, because we do. But we got through the ceremony and then it just poured on us. And the couple was so good natured. It was an older couple. We had all these amazing photos of them just like yucking it up in the rain afterwards, because it didn't really matter. I mean, it was just like a gorgeous moment. But typically, the short answer is yes, Steve. Typically, it will just pass. If it does happen, it passes. And then usually we get a great rainbow, which is the benefit of something like that. So
there's good and the bad. There's no shelter, though, just to be clear for everyone, especially with older folks. You are out, in nature. It's not like there's a gazebo or, pergola or anything like that, right?
Right. So we do, if the weather ever seems iffy, we do bring a couple umbrellas with us. And again, a lot of our beaches have trees, so you can go under the trees and get some kind of shelter-ish. There's always restrooms, but they're not close typically to right where we're doing the wedding. But I've never had anyone like have to run for shelter. It's never been like that I've ever experienced. But again, if it ever seems a little iffy, we bring a couple of umbrellas just as a backup for people in case they really need it. Yeah.
So you can make suggestions for venues to go to celebrate after a wedding.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
On average, I'm trying to get my my geographics right here, my GPS. The majority of the beaches, the three that you love to do, and then the venues that you might suggest that might be nearby. When we say nearby, in terms of a drive, how far are we talking?
Well, some of them are like literally right there, right? So there's one sort of in town, and then there's places in town, and then there's a couple special beaches that I love to use that are kind of in the middle between town and, say, Waikoloa Beach Resort. And those particular ones are right next to some of my, like literally 5 minutes, although, well, as a crow flies, like 5 minutes, but then you have to drive and it takes like 15 minutes because you drive 15 miles an hour and you have to go up and around from the public beach parking to the resort, like super close, like right there. So there's a couple of really favorite spots, or like 20 minutes. The maximum you're ever going to drive is like 40 minutes from a place. And this is not, when you live in Hawaii, everything feels like it's about 10 to 40 minutes away, at least on this side of the island. 40 minutes is like just up the highway. Like it's just up a road. There's no, like, it's not stressful driving. It's very easy. And we do even have a couple transportation companies that we work with who can drive groups. But one of our beaches, you must self-drive. You cannot have a van. So we talk about that too.
So I don't think you've ever mentioned this, but what's the maximum amount of people that you would say is manageable for a beach wedding?
So really the max is like 30. You could budget to 35. But I'm going to tell you right now, my couples, I always say, like, if you can bring fewer people, you will be happier. Not that you don't want those people there, not that it isn't wonderful, but the stress factor for my couples, they always say, like, I'm not worried about the wedding at all. Like, you have that. I'm worried about all my family members and making sure they're here and there. And somehow I'm responsible for all their, it's a lot of energy. Some families are really cohesive and like there's none of that. But for a lot of people, it feels stressful just managing all the people. So the fewer people, the better. But really, the max on a public beach is like 30, squeezing it to 35. And that's pushing it. So, yeah. But that's what, otherwise you have to have a venue. You can't do more than that on a beach here.
And I can totally see that. I mean, here you are worried about your wedding, but I'm worried about Aunt Martha, and she has a walker, so we got to focus on her. Then we got to focus on this and focus on that, and because you want everybody to be happy, they're there to celebrate with you. You mentioned venue. If somebody so chooses, can you take care of the wedding at a venue? Have you ever done that? I
have. It depends on how you want to go about it. So there's certain venues that you can rent the space, right, from the venue. And then there's certain places that we can totally do that. And even for a small wedding, sometimes people prefer a venue for whatever reason. And then we can talk about that. I can guide them. If you have a really big wedding, I will probably refer you to somebody else. I have done large weddings, but I prefer not to do them actually anymore. I'm not talking like 40 people, that's fine, but like 75 or whatever. It's just what I enjoy is the small, intimate weddings. But absolutely, I do have some couples who, after we started talking about it, they're like, given our family, I think we do want a venue. And then I helped them find one. And we did a gorgeous wedding. They rented a space at a hotel. And then I coordinated with the wedding people there to get it all together. So I absolutely will do that for them if they want it. And it depends on their budget, right? Because the beach is free.
Point.
Yeah. And I also will take care of any permits that's included in what I do. So I take care of any permit fees and that kind of thing. And then a venue is usually many thousands of dollars. So you just have to decide what's important, where you want to put your budget. And yeah, again, what matters to you the most. So that's the idea too. Yeah.
No judgment at all here, but what's the most interesting or unusual request that somebody has made for a beach wedding? Or unique? Like, wow, something different.
I feel like they're all like unique in their own way. So I'm trying to think like
something they asked if you could have there, a different type of ceremony, maybe?
So I will do occasionally I have people with certain religious affiliations who want certain things. And then I will just say, tell me what to do. I'll make it happen, or whatever. For instance, I have a Jewish couple coming up in a couple of months, and they really want a chuppah, which, you stand under the 4 poles. I'm making sure that I'm creating that for them to have there. Most of the time when people come to me, they would obviously get a member of their clergy if it was really that important. So they're a little looser as long as they can have certain parts of their traditions, and I will honor anything. I have had people ask me about, can I have doves released, or can I have a llama at my ceremony? There's one guy who does doves, and I did have a dove release once, but it was at a property. It was pretty cool. And then you can, at private venues, there are people that rent like alpacas, I think. I don't think it's llamas. I think it's alpacas, where you can have them present at your ceremony, but not on a beach. You can't have animals on a beach here.
What's the significance of that?
It's just cute. There's no significance.
Okay. I don't know.
Yeah. And then sometimes people say, I want to ride a horse on the beach. I've seen, that's in Mexico. You don't do that here. I think there are places in Oahu, but it is 100% illegal to ride horses on the beach in Hawaii, on any of the islands. That doesn't mean people don't in Oahu. I know they do. But here, our beaches are really small. They're not the long beach. I don't know where you'd ride it. It would take you 2 seconds to get from one side to the other side on a horse. It makes no sense. So, yeah.
I want to repeat something that stuck in my mind that you said a long time ago. And surprised me a little bit. And that was, if you're traveling to Hawaii, plan to get married or whatever you're doing, plan on bringing what you need. You can't easily order it. And here on the mainland, for myself, I would think it's 2025. They can get that stuff there. There's a good selection, blah, 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 blah. But apparently not. And it takes a long time if you need to order something. It's not like, you know what, we're going to arrive on Monday, and Amazon should have what we need there at the latest Thursday. Probably not going to happen, right?
No. I mean, like, by some miracle, you get to the store and they just got a shipment in of just the things, but we don't have the variety that is in most places. Sure. I mean, we have the main stores, right, that people are used to, but we don't have any like craft stores, not on this side of the island. You go to Walmart for if you want any crafts over here, right? Like if you need that kind of stuff, but they may or may not have what you want. And then if it's out, it may be because it's on a barge going across the ocean, which takes several weeks. The shipment may or may not come in, right, for a long time. And shipping, even from Amazon, is particularly, it depends on the item, but usually very slow. Off topic here, but just out of curiosity, you order something on Amazon, and it's the fastest shipping possible. What's the fastest, whatever the item is, that you've gotten it? The fastest I've gotten it is like 3 days, which is like the miracle. But usually what happens is you order something on Amazon. It says great. And it sits in the warehouse for like a week. And then they ship it and it gets there the next day or like the day after. So it just sits in a warehouse because I think now they have a special plane that just comes to Hawaii. So they want the plane to be full before they send it. Okay. So I don't know. I mean,
no, I appreciate that. That just gives a better picture. And that also illustrates how quaint it is there. Like my perception is, it's built up now. And, you can get whatever you need right away. Well, maybe not as fast on the mainland. No.
And maybe in Oahu you can, but not here for sure. And the other thing is like the trick, in case anyone's like, well, it looks like it'll get there. So when you order something, you put it into your cart. It says, delivery by, it looks really fast. And once you place your order, then they update the delivery for like a week or two. So they trick you all the time to think, oh my God, it's going to come so fast. It doesn't. Yeah. If I need something fast, I have my mom order it in New York, and then she ships it to me USPS priority mail, and it gets here in 3 days because she can get it like the next day from Amazon, and then she ships it to me, and then I get it faster than if I'd ordered. Obviously, it's more expensive that way, but if I need something fast, that's what I do. That's the
if you need it, you need it, and that's a way to get it. All right. Best way to find you if we need you for a wedding on the beach. How do we do that?
You go to Simple Kona Beach Weddings with an S.com. So www.simplekonabeachweddings.com. You fill out the contact form, and then I'll send you an email, and then we'll set up a time for a Zoom call. And so I can get to know you and your vision and how I can help you, and we'll go from there. So
love it. 2 words. So exciting. Just looking at the pictures, I'm not getting married anytime soon. Exciting. Like, it's just, you want to be part of, I just want to be at somebody's wedding on the beach and just share the time with them, because it's magical, it's love, it's nature, and it's you making it done in such a wonderful way. Thank you so much for today. Learned a lot. Fantastic.
Good. Yay. Thanks so much, Steve. It's great being here.
Yep. Yeah. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.